welcome back to my channel. My name is Teresa from Teresa's Crafty Cabana. Today I'm going to show you how I made this pop-up market Christmas card, and I just kind of wanted to make something that popped up a little bit in the inside and had a little bit of dimension on the outside. Didn't really have a template to go off of, so I'm kind of just putting together a drawing that I had sketched out real quick to kind of give me the idea of what I was going for. So I wanted almost like a little cart or a little booth that would have like decorations on it, and that was kind of the starter to my theme here. And then I wanted to make this little pop-up feature. So these are pretty simple, like if you're making a basic pop-up card, basically make the top and the bottom the same size and the sides the same size. And typically the sides are going to be smaller than the top and the bottom because those are the parts that are popping your whatever part of your card out. So that's usually gonna be smaller unless you have a smaller piece that you're attaching to it, then you can make it a little bit bigger. But I knew I was going to have pretty full-sized piece that I was going to put on top of this, so that's why I made my dimensions here, and then I'm going to just glue it closed. So you're making a box basically, and it should have a little overlap, so you have your four sides and then a little overlap to close it up. And I'm just using some really strong double stick tape to make sure that it doesn't come apart. You could use wet glue here, but I do like using the double stick tape for these because they're going to be moving around back and forth every time you open the card. Then once you get the little base assembled, you kind of want to fold it back and forth to make sure it folds flat both directions. So just kind of work it back and forth and use your bone folder to make those lines really crisp. And then we have our base of the pop-up here. So I'm just making sure it fits in the spot that I want it. So it's gonna just get glued right here, just like this, and it's gonna pop my little piece off. So now to make the little cart, I needed to figure out what size I could cut out of the center. This little piece here, this little rectangle, fit better for my vision, but it wasn't long enough. So to compensate, I just cut out one part of the rectangle, then moved the die cut over and cut out the rest of the rectangle to kind of create that little window or opening. So if you ever don't have a die that's large enough, like a rectangle, I think it works well with rectangles, probably not circles, but I always find this little trick to be helpful to expand my rectangle piece. Next, I'm just lining everything up. I need to make sure at this point that when I open my card and close my card, that I'm lining this right up on this fold of the card, and as if the card were going to be closed, I am making sure this little piece fits. So it's a little bit big, it's kind of hanging off of the top, so now I know where I need to trim it so that it won't hang over when I close my card. Now I have it all trimmed down and it fits nicely inside of the card, and when I close it, it's not going to stick out of the card. So I'm just flipping it back and forth to see which side I want to be the base, and this side definitely fits in that little piece better, so that's how I'm going to assemble it. Next, I'm taking my stamp set. This is a really old stamp set. I don't think it's available anymore. I got it at Michael's and I've not really used it much, so I thought I'm just going to use something that I already have. And I'm just making a couple of these little cookies, gingerbread cookies, and some of the peppermints, and just gonna stamp those out, and then we'll color them in with some of these distress oxide inks, and then work on the rest of the decorations. once I have all of my little stamps stamped out, and they're all outline stamps, I went ahead and just put some of my distress ink on my Tim Holtz multimedia mat, I think it is, and I am just going to color in. Since this is a water-based ink, I can just pull some of that ink just using water, and it kind of blends what's inside of that stamp a bit. This is not a watercolor paper that I'm using. I'm just using the Nina White cardstock. You do have to be careful using this kind of paper. It will start to warp a little bit, and some of the water, if you do too much water on this, the paper actually will start to disintegrate or deteriorate. So you just got to work quickly if you're going to work on non-watercolor paper, but you can still get a pretty cool effect even just using regular cardstock. So I'm going to do the same process for all of my little cookies here. I'm basically doing the water first, just to blend out what's in the stamp piece already. Then I'm taking Rusty Hinge to the inside part. That's going to make it look like it's kind of golden brown baked. And then for the outside, to make the edges look like they're cooked a little bit more, I'm using the vintage photo for the edges. Now that all my little pieces are dried, I'm taking a size 10 white gel pen. Since my icing was not white in order to make my stamped image, I just went over all the pieces that look like they should be the icing and used my white gel pen to highlight those areas. Then I'm just going to cut them all out. And here we have all of our little pieces cut out and ready for the next part of the card. So now I'm working on this piece that I had created originally. It was very thin, so I knew I needed to make it a little bit more rigid by adding layers on top of it. So I'm kind of tracing it on this piece of paper just to get the wooden part of what my little cart is going to be. And I'm just using the first piece as my lines to make sure I have straight lines and just to make sure that it will fit where I need it to. Then I just need to cut it out, and this bottom part where I'm cutting, this is all going to be kind of done in a wood, faux wood embossed look. And then this top part I'm going to use for the canopy or the awning for the cart. I'm using my scalloped scissors just to create the bottom of the awning. And here I just want to make sure it's fitting on my little base without sticking out. Now to make my little wood piece, I'm just using this Sizzix 3D wood grain embossing folder. Before I run it through the die cut machine, I did use some antique linen just to color in the base of this. Then I colored in the edges with some vintage photo. And now that I've got the texture on there, to make the texture stand out a little bit, I'm going to use some Walnut Stain Distress ink and just kind of lightly glide over the top of the wood grain, just in different areas, just to bring out the texture. So now it's looking nice and distressed. I like how that looked. And then for the little awning piece, I'm just going to draw my lines. I'm going to use this Distress Mica Stain, the Yuletide color. And I'm also going to use the Frozen Fog color to make my stripes. So I've got the white part of the banner, looks like it's got the shimmer from the fog, and then the red part will have the shimmer from the Yuletide. I had made this piece originally and I had colored it in first with my distress inks, and I didn't like how it turned out because it kind of made everything look more pink once I put the Yuletide over the top. So I kind of recreated that piece and just did the white and the red without coloring the background first. I also went into all my little cookie pieces and used fog over all of the little icing spots so that they all had a little bit of shimmer on the cookies. To make my background piece for the front of the card and the inside of the card, I embossed a star background, and then I'm using the Juniper Berry Distress Mica Stain to color in the whole background piece. Once that's completely covered, then I'm going to go in with some of the Frozen Fog and just make some big splotches, not spraying this fine mist, just to make it look like more stars. Then I'm going to go with the Black Soot Distress Oxide and just kind of ink the edges a little bit. Now I'm using some of my lunar paste, the gold color, and I'm just going to put some paste over all of the little raised stars, and I'm kind of blending it out so that each star kind of looks like it has its own little shine to it. Since I needed one for the inside of the card and one for the outside of the card, I just went ahead and did the exact same steps. And then I had two pretty identical looking background pieces. This is going to be for the front of the card. To tie everything together, I made another little wood grain piece. Just colored this one in again with the antique linen, the vintage photo, and then the Distress Ink Walnut Stain. I used Sweet Christmas Wishes as my sentiment. stamped it in my Oxide ink on watercolor paper, used some water spritzed on it to get it to bleed, and then I used VersaFine Onyx black ink over the top of the image. Now I'm just using a little bit of the fog to give it some sparkle. I wanted my front piece to have a little dimension for my awning, so my canopy, so I'm using just some smaller dimensions here to make another one of those little pop-up boxes. Once I've got all of my lines scored, I just need to fold them all flat. So this is the same process as how I made the pop-up card interior part. So this just goes to show you that you can use a little pop-up feature like this even on the outside of your card. It doesn't always have to be just on the inside. And then the same thing here, once I have it closed, I just want to go back and forth to make sure that it folds both ways. Now I'm going to make some decorations. Use these die cuts here. For my green, I wanted to have a little shimmer on my greenery. I am using the Wicked Elixir, that's from the Halloween collection from last year, but it was a pretty good green to use on these little evergreen boughs. My little ginger cookie, just kind of coloring him in, and to make the white part, instead of filling in those pieces with the white, I decided to glue that white piece to the back, and that way it filled in the white pieces. Then I have this cute little hot cocoa cup. Just gonna color this one in with my alcohol marker first. Then I'll put the Yuletide over the top for the shimmer. And then I'll assemble my little hearts on top. The hot cocoa, the whipped cream I stuck behind the hot cocoa so it looked like it was inside the mug. For my little awning pieces, the pop-up pieces, I knew that you were going to be able to see it when you open the card, so I went ahead and just colored in the same stripes on those little pop-up pieces so that it flows with the little awning or banner piece. I cut out these cute little ornament pieces, and to tie in the starry background with the rest of the composition, I wanted to use that lunar paste again to color those in. For assembly, I'm just adding this wooden base piece to the bottom of my little cart. Then I'm adding the awning, using a little bit of pop-up foam here so it sticks out just a little bit. Then I'm going to glue my background into the inside of my card. I'm using wet glue for all of this part. going to glue my little, I wanted to add these little gingerbread men behind the cart to look like they were kind of selling something. So I stuck those down first, and then I put the little pop-up piece behind them. I'm lining it up right to the edge of that little cart. Then I'm gonna put the top part on that goes with the awning. Now I have to be careful to line up the red and the white pieces. Then it's ready to be assembled and put onto the card. First, I'm going to start by putting glue on the back pieces, making sure it's folded right into the center of the card. Press down and hold it here until this glue dries a little bit. Then when you open it, then you have to glue the bottom part to the other side of the card base. And that's what's going to make the pop-up feature. So this is what it should look like, and now it is ready for decorating. Just gonna add all these little pieces that I had made and assemble it all together. Those little ornaments I kind of stuck behind the awning. This little piece, I wanted it to look like it had a wheel. Then I put the hot cocoa in the middle. I realized after looking at this, it looked a little off-centered, so I added a wheel on the other side later on. But now for the front of the card, I went ahead and put my sentiment on the wood piece, and then I put my awning on top of that. Then I put my background stars. Had to make sure everything was lined up the correct way. And again, you just want to press down really good with this wet glue to make sure all the corners and the edges are stuck down nicely. Then I'm just going to decorate the front. And that completes this cute little Christmas market Christmas card. So here's what it looks like with the two almost like wheels on the bottom. Put little snowflakes inside of those. I used the fog behind that to make those little circles. But I think it looks so cute. It pops off the page. It looks like a little Christmas market, little booth, or it could be a cart. And then the front just kind of ties it all together. So I think this turned out so cute. And you can see in the front how the little pop-up piece just gives it that shadow without using foam tape, because it'll go into your card a little bit flatter when you do that. So hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're not already a subscriber, I invite you to subscribe. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for watching and for coming along on this journey with me. I'm having so much fun. I hope you are too. And I love hearing from you. So if you have any suggestions or what you like crafting during the holidays, let me know in the comments. I will see you in my next video. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone, and thanks for watching.